Bienvenidos al Cafecito del Día, brought to you by the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement. Our conversations are inspired by the moments of togetherness that nuestra comunidad shares over un cafecito.
Bienvenidos, soy Carmen Rodríguez. In today's episode, we center the voices and realities of working families navigating some of the most typical moments imaginable. En este Cafecito del Día nos acompaña Chelsey Glaubitz Gabiou, President of the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, AFL-CIO, and a key leader helping coordinate rapid response efforts supporting workers impacted by ICE detentions. We talk about how rapid response networks, unions, and mutual aid efforts are stepping up to provide not just support, but survival. Because when one worker is targeted, entire families and communities feel the impact. Acompañénos. Thank you, Chelsey, for being with us en este Cafecito del Día.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start a conversation talking about how, in moments such as the arrest or detention of union members, workers, or a family of a union member, the AFL-CIO affiliated unions, allies, and constituency groups step up to directly support working families and defend their rights.
So obviously we've been experiencing Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis since January of this year. But I do want to be clear, unions supporting their members with legal aid, legal help, detention matters have gone back previous administrations prior to this. So we've always been paying attention, especially around TPS and other sort of campaigns to this kind of stuff. But once Operation Metro Surge came into our community and the overwhelming chaos of people being just kidnapped, taken, detained with no regard to their rights was astonishing. And thankfully, in Minneapolis, over the last 6 months, we had already been sort of somewhat preparing to increase our support for legal aid fund for union members. And so we kind of had the baseline pieces together, but no one was prepared for what we were witnessing and the full scale of how many people were, just the sheer scale of number of people that were going to be detained, many of them also union members or union member family members or worker center family members. So we have this fund now that is supported by the national AFL-CIO, by LACLA, by our local affiliates, by donors from across the country to give people support immediately from the time when they've been arrested and through the time that they are in detention. A lot of folks are paying attention now to the habeas cases, which gives people standing in the community of which they were detained in. Many of the people who've been detained were detained illegally, without warrants, breaking into homes, folks with proper worker authorization that should never have been detained in the first place. So we're working very hard to get people the immediate resources. That means the union needs to know and hear about it so they can let us know that there is somebody who needs immediate support. So we help them file their habeases. Oftentimes they are swept out of the city of Minneapolis within 8 to 12 hours of their arrest, being taken to New Mexico, mostly East Montana and El Paso, Texas. And from there, it's a situation-by-situation experience of what that particular member needs based on the condition of their detainment, what their immigration status is, where their papers are, where their family is. So we're really having to support a lot of different situations, be very fast on our feet, be very nimble. And a lot of this is like new. There is no precedent for what we're seeing. So we just have to be brave and try and get these people the support they need as quickly as they possibly can. And now we're 9 weeks, 10 weeks into our detention, and we still have way too many union families still being detained that we're fighting hard for every day to get them out of detention.
I remember when we started the Rapid Response Group in January. Since then, we've seen that families are not only struggling to secure legal support when a loved one is detained, they are facing immediate financial instability because that person is often the primary breadwinner. In this context, how does mutual aid within the labor movement function as a critical lifeline for working families?
Absolutely. So immediately, whenever we find out a union member who's been detained or being directly impacted on a legal matter, we immediately talk with the family and make sure that they're getting their needs met, whether it is mutual aid in the form of rent assistance, speaking with their landlord, talking to creditors, if it's help with groceries, if they're able to still go out of their home and shop, we are connecting them with gift cards. Many of these workers and their families just can't leave their home in this environment, regardless of immigration status. So we have a network of volunteers who will purchase and deliver groceries or clothing to folks' homes who need it. So this is a full, wraparound service. And it's not just like a direct service. Like, we're showing people how to advocate for themselves in this process too, because this is going to be a long life by altering situation and moment for many of these families. And we want them to have long-term success, be able to support themselves, be able to advocate for themselves. So yes, we're getting them that immediate mutual aid as quickly as possible, but we're also investing in them for their own agency as well.
Can you tell us how the Rapid Response Network not only provides immediate legal and community support, but also represents a vital safety net for immigrant families navigating fear, uncertainty, and economic hardship?
Yes, there's a lot of ways. I mean, one of the first things I want to say is thank you to LACLA and to the staff here at the National AFL-CIO in Washington, D.C. It was a Friday afternoon, and we just finally came to the realization of the scale of what was coming and raining down on our community. We called out to you all and said, we need help. By Sunday, we had 10 LACLA folks on the phone getting trained in on how to file habeas papers, navigate with a family about what their needs are. And that is the labor movement, and that is the strength and the safety net of the labor movement. It is bigger than just our immediate community. We can call on folks everywhere. We called on Texas. As soon as we found out how quickly people were getting shipped to Texas, we called the Texas AFL-CIO and got in touch with them about how are we supporting folks in that immediate community when they're released, advocating for dignity and respect in the detention facilities. And there's no other group that can do that besides the labor movement. And now, because we're working with directly impacted members, worker center members, union members, people who have been working on worker campaigns, they might not yet be union members. It's developing a level of trust and support all across the worker organizing spectrum that I think is going to return this broad idea of economic security and economic safety to a much larger group of people coming out of this current crisis.
In what ways does collective action from unions strengthening protections for immigrant workers and demonstrate that an attack on one worker is an attack on all?
Let's be clear. We know that what's happening is a purpose tactic to try to divide us and make certain people feel like someone's work is more important than someone else's. And so the fact that the labor movement, the national labor movement, the local labor movement, standing together with these workers is clearly defying what folks want to happen. And that is division, and for us to try to choose and pick one another over the other. And we are together, and together we're stronger. Together we are more protected. When they come after one of us, they're coming after all of us. And that sort of due process and the support for basic human rights is what's building the United Front. That is the biggest takeaway from Operation Surge about some of this, is that the United Front is so critical to keeping everyone together, to keeping families in their homes, to getting people back home.
What is your call to action to all AFL-CIO members, union members, constituency groups, and labor leaders to mobilize in defense of detained workers and ensure that no working family face this crisis alone?
Well, first of all, we need to keep doing what we're doing as constitutional observers in the streets. If you and your local community have not gone through a training to either be a union peacekeeper or to be a constitutional observer, find one today. We need to have these constitutional observers and union peacekeepers in every community so that we can be the truth tellers about what's actually happening in our communities. If you're a union leader, get involved with your regional labor council, your CLC, wherever it is that you can join in partnership with other unions. Also, if you're a union leader, make sure that you're collecting the emergency contact information for all of your members. As a union leader, you don't need to keep documentation about what people's documentation status is, but you can have emergency contact information for every single one of your members. In some of these cases, it's been very hard to get the services and support to the folks who've been impacted because we just didn't have the contact information quick enough for who to contact. So those are some simple steps that union leaders can take right now in their own communities to be ready to support these kind of situations.
When we were recording these conversations, we received one photo of a family who was reunited after all the work that Rapid Response Group did. What makes you feel this?
This is like the most traumatic and most horrible experience that I've had to witness so closely, but it's also been the most beautiful in so many ways as well. So this family that we're talking about, one of their family members was arrested on January 11th. They've been in El Paso, Texas since then. Today is March 3rd. They just arrived home today, and to see a picture of them with their 3 young children smiling and so happy to be reunited is just amazing. But then I also know the long road to recovery that is going to be ahead for this family. So it is one of the most challenging, but also one of the most beautiful things. And to see the real impact that we're able to have on people and their families, it just like really, again, defies what people are trying to make us do.
Thank you, Chelsey, for being with us in este Cafecito del Día.
Thank you.
As we close this conversation, we are reminded that solidarity is not just a value, it's an action. Behind every headline or statistic is a family making impossible decisions, children missing parents, and workers fighting to stay connected to the lives they've built. The work of rapid response groups, unions, and community networks shows up what it means to stand together in real time, to respond with urgency, compassion, and collective power. But the need is ongoing. Families are still navigating uncertainty, still facing economic hardship, and still relying on the strength of a movement that refuses to leave them behind. Now is the time to action. We call on all AFL-CIO affiliated union members, LACLA members, and allies across the country to step up in solidarity. Support mutual aid efforts, contribute to legal defense funds, and get involved with rapid response networks. Check in on impacted families in your community and advocate for policies that protect all workers regardless of immigration status. Our movement is stronger when we showed up for one another. So let's continue to organize, mobilize, and ensure that no working families faces this struggle alone. Nos escuchamos en el próximo Cafecito del Día.
El Cafecito del Día is part of the Labor Radio Podcast Network.